Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Land Use Committee of Community Board Number 8, Bronx County. This is our monthly meeting. It has a pretty heavy agenda tonight. So to the extent you can avoid repeating what somebody else has said, that would be helpful. So we can move it along. Let me tell you what I plan on doing in terms of the agenda. We're going to first approve the minutes because I will otherwise forget to do it. Then we go over, I think, hang on just a moment.
Oh, your first discussion is Chevier, you said.
Yeah. We have got, let's hold Chevier, since so many of the people here look like they are interested in the proposed synagogue. Let's move to that and get that done. Let me, I hope you can all hear. Let me give you all a piece of information. I have good reason to believe that this is the first of two applications within a couple of hundred feet of each other on the same block and in very close proximity. They raise totally different questions. One is a synagogue, another is a proposed new house. And that raises its own questions. The second application is not yet ripe. So that all I can do is alert all of you to its existence. And when it comes, it will come. But I do want to make 2 points to you. That was one, for those here on the proposed Arlington Avenue, West 252nd Street Synagogue, is there is another issue posed on both of those, and that is whether in the event the DOT decides to install actual pavements on West 254th Street, they feel compelled to make that a one-way street.
252nd.
254. Then the question will be, how do you bring them up from the railroad station? And the answer is 252nd. Yes, Bob.
Chuck, what's the source of your information about DOT making West 254th one way? Because this discussion has come up at the Traffic and Transportation Committee meeting, and DOT said no, they intended to maintain a two-way street.
Once they have the pavements in, they will see that the contraction is greater than they thought. And secondly, there will be issues coming up by way of when they do the review of the repair work on 254. Let me make the point. It ties back to something from last night. History has shown that there is a river, indeed multiple rivers, running under various portions of West 254th Street. One of those rivers has caused multiple collapses over the years. Street collapses, generally in the area of, I think it's Netherlands. Which comes first? Which is closest to Henry Hudson Parkway? Netherlands or Arlington?
Netherlands.
Yes, so it'll be Arlington.
Right.
And in the event that that is exposed and they finally address it, unless they are prepared to do the very significant work involved in diverting that waterway, which they have never been willing to do, you're going to have a recurring problem. It's already started to move, as you've seen when you walk down there. I give it, 2 more good heavy rainstorms, and you will have a hole there the bus can fall into. So that's the second reason. The third reason was 5 years ago, there was some discussion about making it one way at the end, some of the MTA committees.
But it remains the case that as of now, the DOT says that it has no plan to change the way configuration on whatever 54th. We'll see what happens. Of course.
Right.
I've been told,
It becomes pertinent for the synagogue.
No, I understand the issue.
I've been told that there's a water drainage issue on 252nd Street as well.
Not aware of that, but that's not when it's spring. My point of this, these potential issues impact on the application tonight. Mr. Goldblum, you are here, you have your presentation ready.
Sure we do, but I wanted to, first of all, thank you for inviting us to speak tonight. And I wanted to ask Annette Rubin to start us off.
Oh, good evening, everybody. I'm Annette Rubin. My husband and I have lived in Riverdale since the late 80s. We raised our children here. We're very vested and invested in this community and its growth and its success. So I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to talk to you a few minutes today about the Tolner congregation. The Tolner dynasty is a rabbinic dynasty, began in the Ukraine in the mid-19th century and has continued uninterrupted until today. Rabbi Dr. Isidore Twersky was the heir to the dynasty, rabbinic heir, was the Nathan Littauer Professor of Hebrew Literature and Philosophy at Harvard, while at the same time he served as the rabbi of the Tolner congregation in Boston. His only living son, Rabbi Meir Twersky, has been a Riverdale resident for close to 40 years. And Rabbi Twersky is also a Harvard graduate and holds the Lieb Merkin Distinguished Professor's Chair in Talmud and Jewish Philosophy at Yeshiva University. And as his father before him, he leads the Tolner congregation, now transplanted from Boston to Riverdale. So about 15 years, the congregation has moved from rental to rental in Riverdale, primarily in the northern end of Riverdale, looking for a permanent home. And by the grace of God, we finally found one, and we identified and bought the property that we're discussing tonight. This particular location is ideal because it serves a group that is not being served right now, in particular, the elderly and the handicapped who live too far from either of the other Orthodox schools. And this may give them an opportunity to be able to come to services, and they find the walking distance to the existing synagogues either incredibly difficult or impossible. So the proposed building is designed with great care, with attention to detail, and it's modest, and with a lot of sensitivity for it to blend in the surrounding homes, and this will be elaborated on shortly. We envision a space for prayer and for study. There will be a small area in the basement to host life events like a bris, a bar mitzvah, life cycle events for the congregants. There will be no living space in this building. For the details, I would like to introduce Michael Goldblum, who you all know, the architect for Tolner. Michael's the founder of the firm Building Studio Architects, and he's built over 100 projects in the Bronx, as I understand, in the last 20 years. He's also a commissioner for the Landmarks Committee, so he's very, very familiar with this type of building, and he brings excellence, artistry, and a very deep understanding of the area to this project. So now I'll hand it over to Michael for the details.
Let me stop you. Let
Sure.
me cut through a couple of issues that you may be thinking about or planning to address. The Court of Appeals of the state of New York is the highest court in the state.
Mhm.
It has previously had 2 issues before it that are relevant here. With the Scarsdale case in the Second Department of Westchester County, the court specifically held that use regulations which prohibit, and even area regulations, which prohibit certain kinds of buildings cannot be applied as against houses of worship under the First Amendment. And that therefore the First Amendment protects certain uses. That's one area of question that is going to be absolutely irrelevant here. The second question is a little bit more complicated, but it has come up in the course of a number of other cases. It is the question as to whether or not the issue of noise and sound of prayer has an impact that is adverse or could excite or incite. Again, the courts have held that's not a proper consideration in this context. So that area will be irrelevant for purposes of this discussion. What is relevant is the following. One, what is the compliance with the various other rules and requirements of the zoning ordinance and related provisions of law? Secondly, how does it affect the community? Most frequently cited in areas of dispute involving these kind of large-scale facilities is parking, traffic considerations, and the like. That is clearly a relevant issue there. And thirdly, the question is this the minimum amount that is required for this lot? That is not a building code issue, but it is an issue as far as the neighbors are concerned. That said, who's next?
Yes, that would be me. Thank you for the introduction. I'm Michael Goldblum, very flatteringly introduced by Annette. Thank you very much, Annette.
Well deserved.
So we were hired by the Telner community to design for them a new building. We actually explored the possible reuse of the existing house on the site. We spent a long time working with them to explore possibilities of doing, as Annette said, the most modest, the most respectful and unintrusive project that we could. We eventually came to the determination that keeping the existing house had numerous problems, and that a new building would be the way to go. Our firm, as Annette said, has been kicking around Riverdale for quite some time. We've done a lot of work in the neighborhood. You're probably familiar with some of it, whether it's new apartment buildings in central Riverdale. I think we've done 4 of those.
Probably the most respected architect to appear before this board, at least as far as I'm concerned. You are well known to the board. You don't BS the board. You make your presentations factually. I think everybody on this board, and certainly most in the community, know your reputation, which is well deserved.
That's very sweet. Thank you. Thank you. So tonight, the community board, to my understanding, is generally tasked with the specific review of the SNAD requirements, the Special Natural Area District, in which this project resides. So Jeff Mose, our project manager, and I are going to focus on and show you the special natural area drawings that relate to the siting of the project. If there are questions about other matters, we're happy to try to address them. But in general terms, I just wanted to kind of frame the presentation for you to say the following. The new synagogue is an as-of-right structure. New York City allows synagogues and other community facility type buildings to be placed immediately next door to homes, whether they are single family or multifamily. So this project is completely as of right. It is permitted by the zoning. And that includes the uses that Annette detailed, whether those are worship or study or celebration involving food on the site. As long as it is not a commercial endeavor, that is all considered permitted uses. The building that we are going to show you is a slightly larger version of what's there now. It is a one-story building with a cellar. It is positioned basically in the same place as the existing house, as in it's kind of an L shape that opens to the southwest. And the purpose of that shape was to preserve the most significant natural feature on the site, which is a very large, very beautiful maple tree.
Really stupid.
Our project is much smaller than would be permitted by zoning. It is complying with all the zoning regulations and doesn't even get close to any of those limits. Where a three-story building would be permitted on the site, this is a one-story building. The height is much lower than the permitted. The permitted height is 25 feet plus a sloping angle that would go up to the heavens. This building tops out at around 25 feet. The size is around 4,100 square feet, which is about the same as many of the houses on the block and is actually smaller than several of its neighbors, including the neighbor immediately to the east, which is around twice that amount. And I think that what I'd prefer to do at this moment is to turn it over to Jeff Mose from our office, who can lead you through the drawings. If he's permitted to share the screen, he will do so and take it from there.
Yeah, I'm looking for him. Jeff Mose, you said?
Yeah,
Yes.
hello.
Where?
Well, now he'll be front.
Hold, give me 1 second. Where is Jeff?
Jeff? Bottom left, bottom left.
Oh, here he is. Got it. Thank you. Okay.
Alrighty. So for the natural area, this is an example to what Michael was talking about. This is the existing house. And this is our outline here of our new house, of our new synagogue. It's a little bit larger, but as Michael had indicated, it's basically the same height as the existing structure, and only 4,100 square feet. We're minimizing the impact to the site. We're actually not taking down any trees, and we're actually adding 10. That's pretty much the base of it. Not a lot. The parking. I'm sorry?
You are not removing any trees, correct?
Not a single tree is going.
And you
We're
are
actually-
adding 10 trees, correct?
Correct. Our natural area site is actually surprisingly void of enough natural.
And they are of what caliber?
Michael, can you help me with this one? I think what 6-inch is the minimum? I see your lips moving, but
There we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, the city planning regulations mandate that the minimum caliper size is 6 inches for new trees. They prefer not to have larger ones because they say they tend to die. So we will be complying with that. They will be chosen from the approved list of native trees, probably evergreen.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt for a second? This is Camila from the Department of City Planning. New trees should be a minimum of 3 inches in caliber, not 6.
I'm sorry. Thank
No,
you,
it's
Camilla.
okay. Yeah.
yeah.
What
thank
was
you.
that, Camilla? I'm sorry.
Minimum of 3.
The now 6 is better.
Double.
I was wrong. Camilla, of course, is right. 3 inches is the size. We will comply with that. I was told by an earlier person at City Planning that we should try not to go for big trees because they tend to die. So that's where that comment came from. So we tend to go for the smaller ones.
Camilla, is that correct?
Yes, so the 6, I think, comes from what we're asking for. The trees are existing for them to count for credit. So we count large trees as existing for credit, but we're asking for proposed because of what Michael is saying, that a big tree is very hard for it to survive if it's like newly planted. We ask for 3 inches, but on the plan, you'll see that we ask them to only show trees that are like 6 inch in caliber and above, like big trees that can count for credit.
Is 6 inches a big tree?
No.
No,
Not
no,
huge,
no.
but it's decent. That's why we sort of, yeah. But
It
the
looks
tree
like a
that's
truck.
shown
About
there is
3
24
inches.
inches. So it's bigger, but yeah, 3 inches for new trees, and for existing trees that would count for credit is 6 inches.
But can they use 6 inches for new trees?
Sure, they're just saying it's a
They-
minimum.
it's a
They're not
minimum.
saying it's a maximum.
Right.
It's a minimum.
Okay.
Right, so if they can put in 6 inches, sure, that would be.
They're
better.
trying to create a privacy fence.
It really
on the-
depends on the species. You know, when we do these things, it really depends on the species. And what's the availability at the nursery. So it's kind of dependent on factors that we can't really anticipate right now.
Do you have an arborist?
Hey Jeff, can you maybe walk through the rest of the drawings for them just so they have a sense of the building? Maybe look at the zoning diagrams.
Michael, do you have an arborist?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Do you have an arborist?
We've recommended to the client to use Olmsted, and I believe that they did use Olmsted to do an initial survey of the property. But we haven't engaged them yet to do any work. That's way down the road.
Let me make a suggestion, if I may. It's just a personal suggestion. That is a touch that is really important in this part of the community. One of your neighbors across the street has done a great job in trying to really put together a fine collection of trees and planters and the like. It will complement that and add significantly to the community. I would urge you to focus on that early.
Very well. Hey Jeff, can you maybe run through the rest of the drawings for the natural area set, just so they have a little familiarity with the overall, just the
Yeah.
zoning diagram, the elevations?
I dropped out for a little bit. My internet connection seems to be a bit dicey.
All right, guys.
Our bulk analysis for zoning. This is the 25-foot sky plane that Michael was alluding to that goes on forever. As you can see, our building really is in the neighborhood of about 25 feet high. The site does slope, so it's kind of difficult to get a measurement, but basically from here to here is right around 25 feet. Again, another example from the other street for the sky exposure plane. Our yards, since it's a corner lot, rear yard is not required. Side lots are required, side yards are required. We have about 12 feet. Front yard, 20 and 15. Arlington and 252nd Street accordingly. And as Michael had mentioned, we're about 4,100 square feet, 4,200 square feet here in our filing. This is coverage from looking down at the overall building. Here it is without the overlay. We have our cellar egress, first floor egress. The driveway is in the exact same spot as the current driveway. We have walkways for ADA access to to and from the
Would
street.
you mind when you go through this, would you make your comments in terms of Arlington and in terms of 252nd? It'll enable people to focus on exactly where you're talking.
Our driveway is on 252nd at the existing location.
Arlington, sorry.
Sorry, Arlington.
Oh.
Thank you, Michael. And we have street access at both 252nd and Arlington for a sidewalk. I think that pretty much covers the bulk of it. Here's a little axonometric of what it looks like. Arlington is across here where the driveway is, and 252nd is here.
You'll notice that the building is a traditional pitched roof building using brick and wood materials that are very common in the neighborhood. The intention is for it to fit in and to feel like a positive contribution to a lovely neighborhood. At that point, we're pretty much open to your questions.
Michael, correct me if I'm wrong. You contemplate two entrances and exits, one of which you intend to devote to a men's entrance and exit, and the other to a ladies' entrance and exit. Am I correct so far?
Generally, the building actually has 5 entry points. Two of them are fire exits at the back. Two main entrances that you see here. Oops, hello.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Let me zoom in. Let me zoom in before you draw.
Go for it. Okay, good. We have women's entrance, men's entrance, service entrance at the base of the driveway. We have a fire exit here and a fire exit here. We also have an entrance here that allows people to circumvent access into the sanctuary and go directly to the cellar from the street. All of these are modest-sized walkways, 5 feet or less. The 2 main ones are about 5 feet. The others are 3 feet. Like there's a walkway actually in this location right now. It's about the same location, same size.
Let me ask you this, and none of this is new to you because I've asked you this before. To what extent will that have an impact on traffic in terms of, let's say, a Saturday evening or a Sunday?
When you say traffic, do you mean vehicles?
Vehicles and pedestrians. You have, if memory serves me correctly, to your east, a group home, am I correct?
Two buildings over on the corner of Henry Hudson Parkway East is, I believe, a group home. We don't anticipate any overlap in traffic or crowding or events. The Schulz events are mostly like most synagogues events. They tend to be, services are early in the mornings on weekdays, towards evening during the week, and on Friday nights also twilight, and then again on Saturday morning. Holidays and Saturdays there is 0.00 vehicle traffic. During the week, there is expected to be some vehicle traffic. And in fact, if you'll let me share, I think what you're referring to, Chair Merdler, is a conversation that you and I and Assemblyman Dinowitz had a few months ago in early January. And so what we did after that, I wanted to just share with you that might be useful. So if you could let me share, I would be greatly appreciative. Am I allowed to share? There we go.
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. So what we did after our conversation is I asked our very wonderful patient clients to engage in a community-based traffic study. And we basically took the entire month of January before the punishing blizzards, and we did an analysis of parking. And what we showed, you can see on the diagram on your screens, we calculated that there are a total of 17 parking spaces, 13 on the streets. Arlington has about 4. Across the street from us is 4. And in front of us on uh, on 252 is another 5. So that's 13. And then we can fit practically about 4 cars in our driveway here, which is how other synagogues tend to park up when they have events. So we figured we have 17 spots that are immediately available. And what we did is we wanted to look at those spots, especially the on-street 13 spots, and see what the utilization was at different times of day over the entire course of that month. And what this diagram shows you is that we took, oh gosh, I don't know how many sightings we did by the hour, by the minute, by the day, all through the week. And we basically found that at most there was 1 car parking in these 13 spots at any one time over any of these periods of time that we surveyed. And so we felt that it would be reasonable to expect that of the 17 spots that are in our immediate jurisdiction that would not be imposing traffic or additional parking on other folks in front of their homes, we figure that 16 of those 17 would probably be available for most weekday morning or evening events. So we took very seriously your concerns about traffic, and I'll compare this study to the number of spaces that other synagogues and houses of worship have in Riverdale. And as I'm sure all of the committee knows, the numbers of spaces are very, very small in most cases. Hebrew Institute has a driveway and a no parking zone on 2 sides. The driveway fits 6 cars, 8 if you're really pushing. CSAIR has, I think, around 12 spots for a synagogue that has an occupancy well over 400. The only synagogue that has any real parking, as I'm sure you know, is the Riverdale Temple. YAOZ, a synagogue that we did a number of years ago, has 4 spots for a congregation of 300. And this building, which has a maximum occupancy of 120, would have its 4 spots plus the street spots that I think it's reasonable to say would afford them a reasonable amount of parking spots in the event of weekday activities.
Michael, inadvertently, I tested out your theory tonight at another synagogue. I had what is known as Yortzeit. And I went to Riverdale Jewish Center and I watched the double and the triple parking over on that corner. I think your numbers may be a little off. I appreciate the fact that you did look into it. I even more appreciate the fact that you're trying to do something about it. But let me complicate your equation, because I want to get all of these comments and complaints that have been inundating the board for the past 3 months out on the table and get them dealt with. One of the questions I have in terms of parking.
I'm just listening, I'm not doing anything.
At the moment, 252nd Street is the wider street and the more traveled one. No, you found the
No.
opposite?
252nd Street is 20 feet wide and the paved portion, and Arlington, I believe, is closer to 30. I don't have the drawing open now. Jeff might be able to access it on the survey. But yeah, 252 is remarkably narrow. That's why we only showed one row of parking. And if you look at how the street is used, in our experience, looking at the street, we've never seen parking on both sides unless the parkers are driving up on the grass verges, which does happen.
While you're on the parking, I noticed my friend, Mr. Fruit, who was shaking his head and did have a question. You want to get asked?
Sure, I'm not a member of the committee, but I'm happy to just point out, Mr. Goldblum, that there, as a practical matter, there really isn't any parking on 252nd Street because it's too narrow for two cars to pass with people parking. Now, there is a cutout right in front of the subject property, which is frequently used temporarily for tradespeople and the like. It actually infringes on, I guess, the customary curtilage of that property. But apart from that, if anyone were to park, and certainly if a line of cars, 3, 2, 5, as shown in your drawing, there would be no way for the many buses that go by to pass along with another car coming in the other direction. And although I don't believe there's any signage prohibiting parking, there may be down the road a bit just because of an entrance to Blackstone. I think it's just been a custom, a matter of practicality, that no one parks on either side of 252nd between Netherland and Arlington. But you're absolutely right. It's a wider roadbed on Arlington, but it's a cross street as opposed to a thoroughfare. And I think, as Mr. Merdler's probably shared with you, we're about to have quite a number of years of major construction, literally reconstructing West 254th Street, which is otherwise the only access road to the Metro North train station, and then you've got SAR there as well. So as a practical matter, you really shouldn't count on those 5 spots, either because it's not practical or because shortly it will become illegal when the city erects signs saying so, just as a practical matter.
Fair enough. I think we did observe people occasionally parking along 252nd, but I certainly take your expertise to heart, and I'm sure you're completely right that is a narrow street. I live on a street that's less than 50% as wide as yours, and I will tell you that people do park on it, even though they shouldn't, and it happens all the time. But such as Riverdale, I guess. But it's true. These are narrow streets, and the fact is that any traffic study that's done would have to make some basic assumptions. We did. If they're wrong, that's fine. You can adjust the math, and you'll see that the number of parking spots is still disproportionately large relative to the size of the community served. The citation that Mr. Merdler made about RJC is correct. That's a synagogue that has 150 people in it every single morning, multiple times a day, and has a maximum occupancy of over 1,000 in its various public assembly spaces. So, and they have exactly 2 parking spots for that building, legal parking spots that don't involve double parking or driving on the sidewalk, which they do every morning. So you're right. The situation for parking for synagogues throughout Riverdale is one of there's not enough parking, but the city has made it very clear that parking is not required for synagogues or houses of worship. And in providing the 4 spots that we have, we're providing 4 more spots than are required. And we're trying our best to be good citizens. And we did the study as a way of trying to understand what the loads are on the streets during a normal month. And I think that we've established that the usage of the streets for parking is very light.
Well, let me just make a point for you to look at if you can. You will be entitled, I believe, of present DOT abides by the former DOT rules, to a couple of spots being blocked out for no parking for synagogue use. And my question is, should that occur, would you do it on 252nd or Arlington?
We'd have to do it on Arlington because 252nd is 20 feet wide. It's not wide enough.
So you answer, it would be on Arlington.
Sure.
And you're gonna perhaps have construction across the street on Arlington in the event.
Well, look, it's very common, as everyone I'm sure knows, when construction happens in New York City, there are temporary rules that allow for the overriding of parking permissions and parking rules for the duration of that construction. And I'm sure that if when the house across the street makes its plans, they'll have to show DOT where they're going to be putting their trucks and cars. And if they ask for and obtain waivers, DOT will evaluate the situation and make sure that the roads are passable. And if that means invalidating on-street parking for the duration of the construction, then that will be what they do. And certainly our congregants who are law-abiding, careful people will abide by those rules.
Are any of the hands that are up now related to an issue of parking?
Marty's got his hand. up.
Marty, go ahead.
Yeah, not for parking. Could your colleague put back up the drawings, particularly the grading drawing? I have two questions on the grading.
Jeff, can you do it or should I do it?
I'm just getting to it right now, actually.
Great, thanks.
While he's pulling that up, you said there's room for sidewalks. Are you planning to put in sidewalks? Because right now, the whole corner property doesn't have any, meaning anyone approaching it is just walking in the middle of the street too.
We actually reviewed this with DOT, and DOT does not require us to put in sidewalks. And we felt that putting in sidewalks, even though there is the only sidewalk that we found is the one immediately to our east. And it is not a legal sidewalk in terms of its width or material. But they did not require us to put in a sidewalk, and we felt that it was not in the nature of the neighborhood to have one, so we did not ask them to put in one voluntarily. We wanted to maintain the quality of the streets as they are, and so we did not propose a sidewalk.
Marty, you were asking.
Not this diagram, the one with the trees plotted.
This one? Oops,
Yeah.
excuse me.
No, there's another one.
I think
No,
it must be
that
that
one shows one tree getting cut down. Is that a mistake?
It's not a mistake. It's showing that we're not taking credit for the tree. But we're because it's too close to the building, so you're not allowed to take credit for it.
Well, that was one of my questions. And the other one is the tree on the extreme left in the middle there.
Yeah.
That one.
New one?
Is that construction over it, around it?
No. This area here is paved, and this area here is paved, but this is all landscaped inside here. This
Okay,
is our outline of the disturbed soil.
That's where the construction fence goes.
Are you, Done, Marty?
I'm done.
Okay, one moment. Is parking or traffic an issue for any of the three hands I see up? The answer, yes or no?
Yes, I could say yes. It is a
Go ahead.
significant issue. Let me just preface my comments by saying I have nothing but respect for the Tilner community. Raised my kids in Boston and in Brookline, Massachusetts. Attended that shul many, many times. However, I also have nothing but respect for my neighbors on Arlington and on 252nd. Parking is a major issue. And to state we know what the width of Arlington Avenue is, 30 feet, there's been so much erosion. It's so corrugated. No one knows what the width is. And we've had many run-ins, accidents, brush bys with parking on Arlington to date, which has led to many insurance claims. There's been an ongoing discussion about how congested and how narrow Arlington is with double-sided parking, particularly when little children who are attending the school on 252nd Street, SAR, are walking. There's no sidewalks, so they walk in the middle of the street because there are cars on both edges. That is a real danger. Far better to prevent that now than to apologize later. Adding a shul or a synagogue, which is 1,400 square feet, but also somehow has a service entrance, is not going to help that situation. And I would also, while I'm on that square footage question, wonder, is it 4,200 square feet just the structure, or is there a basement as well? And that adds significant amounts of square footage for events, et cetera, so forth. So the question of parking is a big one. It's one that's everyone on the street and elsewhere has been looking to address. It's one that is a primary concern for safety. Number one, safety number two, safety number three. And with regard to children who are all converging and walking forward most mornings, often when services would take place, to SAR. There was one accident on 254th Street many, many years ago. The outcome of that, we shouldn't have to know of. And although there's no direct correlation, we don't want to be in a position of saying sorry later rather than preventing that now. So I respect Rabbi Twersky deeply. I respect the community deeply. We all want to see more religious life, but we also want to see it done right, well, and safely. And finally, I also want to say another thing. All the comparisons to other synagogues. Look at those neighborhoods, the RJC, right? HIR. Look where those neighborhoods are. Those are in areas that have sidewalks, that have a very clear two-way street lanes going back and forth in both directions.
Now you're treading on an area and question that is not properly before the board. Court of Appeals have held that they may be located there. That's that.
I'll leave it with, there is a large concern. There's a large respect for Rabbi Twersky and the community, and there's also large concern for parking.
Jeremy Smith.
Hello.
Oh,
go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Judkowitz. I live on Arlington Avenue. I had a couple issues to address, but I'm guessing you want to stick to parking for now. I'll start with 252nd. That's absolutely not a spot that anybody can park. I drive on 252nd every morning. I take my son to and from Kinneret, so I have a lot of experience getting out of here and back in the morning. 252nd is often one way. Cars have to pull over and allow for a bus to go by. There's parts of the street where you absolutely cannot fit two cars, going one in each direction during morning traffic. If there was a car parked on the road, God forbid, it would, I don't know. I happen to think maybe it would be better as a one-way street, to go back to that, but it's just not possible. In terms of the width of Arlington Avenue and the abundance of parking, which I'd say we don't have, we actually have a problem with abandoned vehicles, cars being left. There's something in front of my house for 8 months now. I have a measurement that I'd be happy to send to the board that I took earlier this spring where it shows when there was a car on either side of the road that that there was like, I believe, under 10 feet of clearance in the road. So that's not enough for a fire truck, a large ambulance, anything that goes on. It's something that we've brought up. I brought it up with the councilman several times, that parking on our street, and while there is more and it's a bit wider down there, it's gonna push down to the north side of the street as well. Lastly, I just wanted to ask Mr. Merdler if you got the email from our street that we sent earlier today, that addressed some issues, and it was a signatory email.
You may have, but I did not have a chance to read emails today.
Okay, there was something sent to you on behalf of many of the homeowners on the street, with issues that we wanted to address. And lastly, I just wanted to say, you know, I'm not opposed to a synagogue on our street, and I don't think that's why any of us are here today. I think a big part of the issue was there was a real lack of involvement or communication with the neighbors, and that should have happened. A lot of us, we're just getting details today for the first time. And we have a lot of respect for this community, and we would love to see them come in, but you know, in the right way. There's a lot of issues from sewage to parking to, you know, maintaining kind of the feel of the community and fitting in the SNAD, as well as some other flooding issues that we think need to be addressed. And as people who live on the street and have lived on the street for a long time, I think we were probably best suited to sit down with the community a while ago and address a lot of these issues, you know, before we got to this point. So I think it's really an issue that none of us were consulted. You're moving in literally next door to somebody's house, and you didn't talk to them about it. You know, didn't really care what their input was. So I think there's a right way to go about this and a wrong way. And hopefully we can make that correction and maybe make some changes or understandings that will help everybody move forward more comfortably.
Thank you. Laura Spolter.
Are you able to anticipate how large your congregation is at this point?
Building occupancy is 120 in both the upstairs sanctuary and the downstairs social hall. It cannot accommodate any more than that. My understanding is that that's bigger than the current congregation.
I should hope so, because for events and family and whatnot, I would think that that's a very low number, if that's your max. And you
That's
have
the legal
events.
number that's going to be on the public
Yes.
assembly filing.
Okay,
What is your PA number?
120.
120 max.
That's it.
It's
It's
just,
on the, it's going to be filed at the building department. It's public record. It'll be posted on the door. Any occupancy in excess of that would be violating fire department rules.
and do you have a timeline for construction and a plan for deliveries and such? A staging area mapped out?
The staging area would be the driveway. Oops, I got an echo. So the staging area is the driveway, and that's shown on the natural area drawings. The timeline is very much dependent on approvals and then pricing. So we don't have a timeline yet. I would informally estimate that the construction would take about a year to 16 months, typical for a house.
Thank you.
When would you be prepared to commence?
Again, that's a client-driven decision based on money, and I don't have access to that. But we're as soon as the natural area drawings are approved, which will This committee will see the drawings again when the city planning department approves that we present it to you for a formal vote. I'm hoping that will be in the next few weeks. Once that happens, we go to the building department and again, it's out of our hands. The normal, we've started some filings with them already. The normal review time is 4 months, more or less, for a new building. But again, it could go slower, it could go faster. It's really hard to say.
So let me just jump in and ask you a question because I've got to worry about a calendar. If I set you down for a meeting in and after the third week of April, what progress do you think you will have made by then?
That's a good question for Camilla. We are waiting for city planning's green light to us. As soon as we get that green light, we will be back before the committee as soon as they are able to accommodate us.
So will you get back to me as soon as you have a better feel for that, all right?
Just to speak on timing, if you give me a second, I think it's tricky to give you a timing now based on how much we have in terms of load of applications. So I'll be cautious on providing any timeline because we might not be able to meet that.
You might not be able to make it by the end of April?
Yes.
Something wrong here. What kind of applications have you got there that keep you so busy in the Bronx?
Many SNATs, many neighborhood plans. I'm just trying to be realistic with both the board and also
Okay.
the
And I
applicant.
appreciate it. You've always been forthcoming. All right, well, we'll see what we can do. Jody.
Hi there, thank you. Normally this is where I say, can you save the trees? But Michael, you already did that. So I'm going to talk about the street. I believe 252nd Street is mapped at 80 feet wide, even though it might only be paved at 20. And Arlington and Netherland are probably mapped at 60, even though they're paved at 30. So we've seen this already on 254th Street. I heard SAR students mentioned. I've heard that it might become a one-way. Are we going to end up with a complete street again that will be widened to its full width with sidewalks, regardless of what you're intending with your design? I know you wanted to not put the sidewalk in, but for DOT to do it, they would put sidewalks and do the full width like they're doing on 254th Street. So is that a
sidewalks on top of sidewalks?
well, yeah. And so if it becomes that the foot traffic is people in the street and the school children are in the street, and then people are double parking, even a few cars double park, even one car sounds like it would block the road. I'm just concerned, despite your good intentions, a year from now, this may be what people are complaining, that it's unsafe, and we will end up with an 80-foot wide street and a 60-foot wide street on your intersection.
Well, as you may or may not know, City of New York has been taking property of homeowners on both sides of West 254th Street in order to facilitate those sidewalks. So that creates an additional problem for both of them. Laura.
Just an additional comment. In January, there's no traffic going down 252nd to Wave Hill. I mean, I know that the sign is at 249, but in the summer and the nice weather, there's a lot of people that still use 252nd and then turn to Wave Hill. So their study was done in January, so it's a much busier area.
Okay, Mr. Katz.
Okay. I have a little comment about the parking. The parking dynamics on Arlington are that on Friday nights, people come with a car, they park, and then they go to pray in the current congregation that's in the house just across the street of the proposed synagogue. So these cars come, there are maybe 3, 4 cars, and that's in a house that maybe 20 or maximum 30 people come to pray. Now, if we extrapolate to the proposed shul, which can host 120 people, then where are all these cars going to park? That's my question.
Let me just throw one question in, Michael. You also have a flooding problem emanating from the middle of your block, closer toward 254.
All right, guys, let's go to bed, okay?
Any good rain, and the middle of that block is a swimming pool. I don't know whether you factored that in at all. If you haven't, you should.
Well, we have factored in extensive rainwater retention for our property. We would not be permitted to put drains in the road. Our property has a full code compliant stormwater retention package underground that will improve the overall block's surface water situation, because the house now has no stormwater mitigation equipment. So we're going to be leaving the block better protected from rainwater than we will have it at the present.
Okay, now, I don't see any other hands up. Oh, wait a minute, there is another.
Melissa?
Yes.
Ms. Braverman.
Hi. So my family and I live next door to where the proposed synagogue is going to be. We have had at least 4 severe floods to our property. And much of the water has come from the house next door. I appreciate the fact that you would like to improve the water situation there. That being said, I don't feel that the water mitigation plans that you are proposing are going to be significant enough.
Jeff, can you put up the site plan again? Let me point out something to Ms. Braverman.
Just one
Ms.
moment.
Braverman, where do you reside, if I may?
So our house is right next door. We live at 5220 Arlington Avenue,
Okay,
which is literally right next door to
So
the proposed.
to address your concern, Ms. Braverman, we actually went out of our way and are proposing to spend a considerable sum to go above and beyond the call of duty to protect your property from rainwater runoff. What you'll notice is, let me get my little tool, coloring in tool here. Give me a second. Your house is more or less over here. I've just drawn a pink box. We are proposing to put basically a trough that would be below the grade line that runs pretty much the whole north end of this building, with a small exception for a piece of equipment that has to go there. The entire length of this wall has a trench along it that goes below the ground line for between 1 and 4 feet, creating a trench for any water that's moving northwards along the property. Any water that escapes our drainage system will sit in that trench until it overflows, which would really only happen in an extraordinary storm, in which case we have a lot more things to worry about than the rainwater on this particular situation. We'd all be in trouble. But for any normal or even abnormal storm, we're creating a huge 4-foot, 5-foot wide gutter to hold water, to keep it from going onto your property.
I appreciate.
How deep is that
As we-
trench?
Oops. Am I?
It's between 12 inches and about 4 feet deep. That's a lot of water,
If
by
it's
5
that
feet
deep,
across.
Could you not turn that into a French?
It is. It has drainage at the bottom of it. It's all drained. It's got a gravel floor that will completely absorb any water that's in it. And there's drainage pipe under it that goes to further drainage tanks that move the water to the south.
Ms. Bergman? Do you have anything to add, Ms. Bergman?
Yes, I do. We've had extraordinary weather patterns the last number of years. The majority of people on our street have had flooding issues for various reasons. However, the way in which the land slopes, I don't believe that will fully take care of the water issues. And I also know that there were trees that were taken down in the back. I don't know if that was the area that you were planning. I'm sorry, I can't see the back of this. So my family has concerns about the flooding issues from this property, as we've had for many years. We have tremendous amount of footage of issues it's literally a river coming from the property all over. So I don't believe that one particular area.
Braverman, let me make a suggestion. This matter will come on again in 4 to 6 weeks. Between now and then, if Michael is willing to do so, how about you're getting together with their person who's doing this French and who's been responsible for that area, pardon me, of design, and see if your fears can be allayed or cannot. Would you be willing to do that?
Would I
Michael,
be
would
sure?
you-
My husband and I would be happy to do that.
Great. We would welcome it, and we'll certainly take it up with our clients and our civil engineer and see what we can come up with.
Good. All right. One last one for this round. Mr. Goldstein.
Yeah. This is just a question going back to process. It was mentioned before that for many of the people on the street, this is the first that we're hearing of the plan and the details and all that. And I imagine that while those who are buying the house didn't legally have to approach us before tonight, why didn't you? Why didn't you come to any of us knowing that we are committed neighbors on the street? Why didn't you tell us about your plans in the beginning? Again, did you have to legally? No, but why didn't you as a matter of mental
That's
health?
not going to be helpful. You're here now. They're willing to give you information and to share it with you. Let's move
I know
on.
that's not the question that's not the answer to the question that I asked. Just with all due respect, Mr. Chair, that's not the answer. That is not what I was asking. I was asking why didn't we have the courtesy of process to if the shul wants to be as good neighbors as they say they do, and I believe that this doesn't give me a great feeling of trust and confidence that they really mean that.
Mr. Goldstein, then I will answer it. I spoke to Michael, as did the assemblyman, weeks and months ago to get the information. When it was ready, he said he would put it on, but not before. It is ready and it is on.
Okay.
Okay. Now, is there anybody else who has a question? Okay. Let me now see. Michael, did you finish your presentation?
Yes, but Ms. Hoffman has a question.
Okay.
Dr. Hoffman, excuse me.
Please call me Miriam. We're all neighbors here. And so I do echo, this is a really wonderful neighborhood. It's a wonderful street. And we really do welcome the community as it is here, as well as, new facilities. just following up on some of the questions, the safety concerns of this block and really Arlington 254th, 252nd cannot be understated. It's the school children. It's also the pedestrians to the train station. The Wave Hill point was, I think, a really important point. I live at 5340 Arlington, where there's really not even room to park a car on one side of the street, and there's parking on two sides of the street. 3 of my daughter's friends have bumped cars pulling out of our driveway. Little children are walking by. It's not safe. The one spot where you measured is a bit wider, but obviously this is going to have impact across the whole street. And I think that that really all needs to be considered in the bigger picture. So that's the first thing I want to share. My question is, and I really do echo, there's wonderful people on this block. It is quite upsetting that to not be engaged with or spoken about until literally the 11th hour. I'd like to know what the steps are next in this approval process. I'm not an expert. And I'd like to know how the community is going to have meaningful conversation with your new neighbors so that we can talk about all of this, because what one of the other people said is really true. There's going to be a terrible accident on this block. And please God, that should never happen. And it should never be somebody close to anybody on this call. But we really, the conditions of the street and the safety is really horrible at this moment in time. And so obviously all of these many factors are going to make that a lot worse. And I think that everyone is only in charge of their one decision, except all these different decisions happen and we end up with a profoundly unsafe situation. And so I think that that needs to be addressed robustly, both for this project and by the community board. And I would like to know how the community of the shul is going to engage with all of us who live directly here and will be your neighbors. And I'd also like to know how we address these bigger safety issues as a community, because these are really, really terrifying concerns. As someone else just said, this is not a time where you want to think about it after the fact when something terrible has happened. Please.
Hello, Steve. I think maybe you put me in a box, so I must tell you some facts. This application, as I understand it, is or will be as of right. If it were not for the SNAD issue. City of New York, under 2 successive incompetent mayors, has sought to abolish SNAD, which is the only, I repeat, the only vehicle which gives you and your neighbors and your community board an opportunity even to hear this subject. But it also limits the areas that we lawfully can address. Believe me when I tell you that your assemblyman and I once had a friend named Goldblum, who I've retained privately in the past and know him to be an excellent architect, and who now hates my guts for being a pain in the you-know-what. We are trying to get this to you. That's why you heard me say a few moments ago, 6 weeks from now, you're going to hear it again. We all know how interested you are. I live 2 blocks away. I know the block. I know the neighborhood. I live in it. I've lived in it for 30, 40 years. You're right. You're absolutely right. But understand, as I've told Michael, he must understand, and I've told several of his principals, they must understand that this is a community and people got to work together. So what I would ask you to do, and your colleagues who are on this viewing, is tell me in writing in the community board or in any form you like, what are the 5 things you would like done, not generalities, but the 5 things that bother you the most. And I will promise you, if they make sense, I will lobby for them. And that's about the best I can say. I must tell you, if we had been under the former mayor or his predecessor, we'd have been cut short by city planning a long time ago. So please work with us as we're trying very hard to work with you. We know your pain.
Thank you so,
This
I
is
just want to
public,
say
and
thank
this
you.
isn't over, because you're gonna have another application coming in right across the street. And down the block, we have been fighting for the past 5 years of their attempts to turn the Kennedy House into an event space. And I know they used it illegally a few weeks ago. So please, the board does what it can with what it's got, but it only has limited powers, and we do what we can. All right?
You gotta move on.
I apologize. I get hot under the collar on this issue because I must tell you, every person sitting here has gone through agita on the subject of SNAD and how to do it. I met with a new building commissioner on it just a few weeks ago. We do what we can with what we got. Help us. All right? We will try and help you. I promise you that. Okay. I see a hand up, Jimmy. Oh, Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll be very brief because I know you let me speak before. Mr. Murdler, I want to say thank you and maybe just put a point on this and make it clear this isn't a NIMBY issue. A bunch of us on the street have spoken and we want to be good neighbors. And I think where we're coming from is our problems on the street are going to become the synagogue's problems on the street. And we want to sit down with them, hopefully before the next meeting, before the next time they come before CB8. And maybe we can have a nice discussion about some of these issues and our concerns, in a neighborly way. And I'm wondering if they would commit to that, if we could set up something on the street and meet one evening for kind of a private presentation and to talk.
Michael, what say you?
If it's fine, I'm just the technical guy. If the client wants to speak with you, if they want to make a meeting, I'd be happy to do what I can to facilitate.
I have a bar mitzvah age son. I'm willing to offer him up for minyan.
Of course, the congregation is willing and happy to speak to the neighbors. And I guess to just quickly respond to all the neighbors who are uncomfortable with what they think is the 11th hour notification, that was not our intent. We felt that until we have something concrete to show, there was nothing to say, and that this forum was the place to begin the conversation. So there was no lack of respect intended. It was simply our thinking of how this process would work. We don't do this every day, whereas it's not our something that we deal with all the time. We felt that coming to the community board was the correct and appropriate and neighborly time to present what we had once it was more realistic. So yes, to respond to your question, of course, we are happy to meet. And we can be in touch.
Let me make this suggestion. Doctor, you have the misfortune of being the eloquent speaker for a lot of important points. Would you object if your neighbors and colleagues got in touch by email or whatever other non-intrusive way exists to let you know which ones would like to attend such a meeting, and if you could get that list to the community board?
Were you talking to me? I'm sorry, I didn't follow that. What was the?
I need some person on the block
Yes.
who will pull together the list of those who really want to get together, but not make it an army. You can't have a conversation with an army.
For sure.
Okay.
Happy to.
And if you will get your list over to Farah Rubin, who is the executive director, that would be very helpful.
Okay, and I assume one of my neighbors has Farah's email or however we're supposed to communicate.
Yeah, if
Well, they
you-
sent
on our agenda is also.
Oh, it's
our
on the agenda. Okay.
You could use the BX08 if I just think it's easier. But if someone does have FQ Rubin at cb.nyc.gov, you can email me directly.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I want to also express my thanks to the board. You know, we are all new to this. And like you were saying, we're all just very passionate about our families, about the well-being and about the neighborhood. And we look forward to working together to, you know, continue to enhance our community.
Thank you. Now, is there anything else for the people who are on the remote? Okay, any questions from the board? Yes,
I mean, my main question is, and I think the whole rest of the block has the same question, because you sort of said it in passing on the side, but not really in your presentation. What are you doing about flooding? So you say there's retention tanks under the building and there's this gutter. Is the driveway going to be semi-permeable? Is there anything else that you're planning that you didn't already mention?
We have drains in various locations around the building, including a trench drain at the foot of the driveway. The driveway is not semi-permeable. In our experience, those things really don't work. They say they're semi-permeable, but they're really not. Jody might be able to chime in on that one. In discussions with environmental people, I've found that semi-permeable or partially permeable pavings really don't promote extremely good or even decent water absorption. So we sought to just minimize the area that we're paving. That's the main tool. And to that end, we made our walkways narrow, and the walkways are going to be they can't be just for ADA purposes, they have to be hard surfaces, but we tried to keep them as minimal as possible. We have all of our, many houses in the neighborhood, I'd say most houses in Riverdale tend to dump their rainwater on the ground. A gutter comes down from the house and dumps the water on the soil. None of our water will be doing that. All of our water will be going underground to tanks that are located under the driveway and front yard. Those tanks will disperse the water at a slow rate that is supported by the soil conditions on the site, which we have tested. The soil can take the absorption. So that's the basic approach. The entire trench along the north side that I referred to is all gravel, which is a very hyperpermeable material, and that'll allow all water that collects there to supplement the other drains in question. I mean, another factor is, frankly, that concerning the flow across the site, because our building is wider than the existing house, it will itself act as a dam to a lot of the water that moves from the south to the north. Instead of rolling across the lawn and onto the neighbors' houses or onto the street, it will hit the building. And the building has lots of drains, and the drains will divert that water.
Michael, one of the things I mentioned earlier is in mid-block on your side of the street on Arlington, there is a building that has half a dozen times a year, 3 times a year, flooding that runs all through the middle of the street. You might take a look and see what that situation is, and maybe we can get DEP in to see what we can get from that. So if somebody will zero in on that, that may help solve flooding problem.
I know that spot. I've driven over it many a time. It's a problem. It's not a problem that this property owner can solve, even if they wanted to. That is the problem with the road, as I'm sure this board is very familiar. Both of these streets are unvested streets, which means that the DOT only takes limited responsibility for their care. That's why they're in such beautiful paving condition. The DOT, I fought this battle on my block for a decade and failed. It's the same story. Because the street beds are not owned by New York City doesn't take care of these streets. And that extends to drainage systems. The drainage systems under these streets are, in the case of Arlington and 252 anyway, at this corner, they are city DEP sewers as far as we know, and according to our civil engineer. But those are combined sewers, and the city is doing everything it can not to add additional rainwater to its sewers because it tends to, in heavy rainstorms, cause sewage to go into the rivers. So the likelihood of getting DEP to add a connection to its sewer, I think, is minimal. But the best thing I would suggest is for this board's committee on roads to talk to DEP DOT about placing drainage at that location, even though it is not a vested street. I don't know what the committee's luck is with getting the DOT to do anything on these streets, but that's, this homeowner can't do that because they don't own it or control it.
It's on the committee.
Yeah. One list.
Yes, Laura.
Okay, we all know that events are very noisy affairs. What soundproofing measures are you doing in terms of installation, doors, windows, and every other soundproofing measure? What will you be doing?
We are installing fully insulated walls, ceilings, roofs, and foundations. The insulation that we're going to be using is a combination of rock wool and spray foam. Rock wool is uniquely acoustically deadening as well as being thermally deadening. We are installing insulated glass windows with a Low-E coating. Those windows will, because of will improve the acoustics over the existing windows, which are single glazed. The main assembly space in the lower level, the place where the food would be, is partially below grade, and the best sound insulator is the dirt. And has limited windows because of that. So the likelihood of sound emerging from that room is probably minimal.
Let me suggest, don't give up on being able to do something on getting DEP on the street. So if you will, take a look at what you think you need, and we'll see what we can do. Bob Bender.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have set up a situation where the neighbors are going to discuss the issue with the developer. I'm confident they will think of everything we've discussed tonight and probably more. And I'm just looking at our agenda, and we have River Spring coming up, we have Chervier, we have Van Cortlandt Village, and I am hoping that we could be out of here sometime before tomorrow morning.
Thank you. As usual, you caught me cold. Ladies and gentlemen, this subject will stand adjourned. Michael, you'll get back to me. Camilla, you'll get back to me, or to Farah, and let us know the progress of how you're doing. And we'll reschedule at an early date, as early as we can. In the interim, you will try and set up the meeting between neighbors and developers. If there's anything that we can do to accommodate that, be helpful in that process, we will do it. I thank you for your attention. All right. The next item on the agenda is not quite as easy. By the way, is Senator Jackson on now or what?
I know that Dario is on. Hold on.
Dario, are you on?
Let's see.
All right.
I'm getting on just a second.
Here we go.
My computer just froze while I was trying to prepare for. Can you hear me?
Yes. Dario, what I would ask you to do, if the senator is going to come on, just interrupt us wherever you are, and we will put him on. All right?
Farah, do you mind putting up the presentation because I don't know what's happening on my side?
Sure. Wait, let me first share the screen, I guess. Hold on one second. Where am I? And am I doing it?
There.
Can everyone see?
Yes. Can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you.
Yeah, hold on. This one?
Good evening, everybody. I'm here on behalf of State Senator Robert Jackson, asking for the community board support for the following legislation: S6761 and Senate Bill 5226A. The senators feel that this legislation would be very useful for Community Board 8. We reviewed the latest meeting minutes that were available to us, and we identified the following issues that are relevant to this legislation and what this legislation would assist in accomplishing. As many of you might know or not know, inflated AMI figures are used to justify unaffordable/affordable units in our community, which causes, let's say, illusions or concerns to our neighbors that feel that they are able to find an affordable unit. And often this is a promise that is indirectly broken, but legally valid. As many might know also, if you attended last land use committee meeting, infrastructure strain is a concern at Vancouver Village due to the compact number of units, which do not reflect the infrastructure. Obviously, part of that is due to the fact that affordability is not actually conveyed or concerned, and primarily the need for a standard definition of affordability. Under federal and current state law, affordability is defined by the regional AMI, which includes Long Island, the New York, Westchester, and 2 other counties, which do not reflect the reality of any community, including our own. And due to this, there's community mistrust due to inaccurate and inconsistent information. And the senator and our team feel that these 2 legislative bills directly address these concerns. Please, next slide, please. Senate Bill 67 amends affordable housing program requirements in New York City to use a zip code specific area medium income or a regional AMI, area medium income, as defined by HUD for New York City metropolitan area. And it would be based on the lower of the 2 medians. And this would reflect localized income condition rather than the inflated regional figures, which do not take into consideration the local communities. Next slide, please. The current metropolitan AMI include higher income communities artificially inflating affordability thresholds. Zip code AMI methodology aligns affordability with actual neighborhood income distributions. The bill preserves use of regional AMI only when it's lower, ensuring the most conservative affordability metrics apply. It would support accurate rent setting for programs tied to AMI, 421A, successors, and other HPD programs that assist our communities, both on the development side and both our residents when they're trying to find a new home. Next slide, please. This bill ensures future affordable housing proposals in CBA are priced using Bronx appropriate AMI levels, provides statutory basis to challenge affordability claims based on an inflated regional AMI, aligns with Community Board 8's stated goal of establishing clear, defensible affordability definitions, and reduces the risk of affordable units priced at levels inaccessible to local residents. Next, please. Senate Bill 52226 adds General Business Law 3501A1, establishing statewide standards for advertising deep affordable housing. It would define deeply affordable housing as units affordable to households earning less than 60% of AMI, classifies misrepresentation of deeply affordable units as fast advertising, requires advertisement for mixed developments to disclose a number/percentage of deeply affordable versus market rate units. Applies these standards to developers, brokers, and all state and municipal agencies. Does not alter eligibility rules for programs with different affordability definition, but mandates advertising compliance. Next slide, please.
Wait just a moment.
Yes.
You've got to explain, in order to achieve the result you seek, it should not only apply to developers, but their agents, which is the advertising agencies.
Yes.
Oh, I see.
It should, but if you feel, well, I'll have that. I'm happy to provide that feedback to our legislative team. If you feel that is a concern, that doesn't include
otherwise they're under the loophole.
Yes. Right now, affordable is up to 120% of AMI. And the definitions are very ambiguous, and we were hoping that it would provide market transparency. And also, accurate disclosure of unit mixes improves public understanding of development impacts, supports consistent application of affordability terminology across agencies and developers. Next, please. And
it was 1/3.
Yes. Yeah, anybody have a question? Sorry.
You can't call it affordable if it's targeting 130% AMI.
That the goal is to create the deeply affordable. Because there's current law allows developers to not exactly define deeply affordable and affordable, and we're trying to lower the threshold of what's considered deeply affordable and put as a statutory definition.
Incidentally, I'm not sure what jurisdiction we continue to have in respect of ULURP or ULURP review. So that's something you might take a look. Those very nice people who shoved through City of Yesterday.
Okay, I'll bring that feedback. I'll bring that. Yes, I will take that back. And most is related to affordability claims. That's one of the biggest concerns we have. Especially when developers come to the community saying that they're going to provide a truly affordable units when they're not affordable. And overall, we were hoping to create a new parameter where deeply affordable is statutorily defined with an amount, locally based, which is the number one hurdle that we feel we're going to have in regards to passing this legislation. Because other communities don't feel the need of having a local / county-based AMI category. Next slide, please. And we feel that in CB8, it would establish clear definition of affordability, ensuring affordability that reflects local incomes, improving access of developer presentations, addressing community concerns regarding the claims regarding affordability, and support evidence-based land use recommendations. And that is all for the presentation. Happy to take questions and take feedback, which I appreciate.
If you will permit me, please, I'd like to ask you to extend to Senator Jackson my deep appreciation. He is the first official in your House. He is the first statewide official, other than the local assemblyman, who has paid any attention to these issues and instead has hidden, as all of the others have, and as every city agency has, hidden behind the language that is deliberately vague. I congratulate you. I thank you. I'm for Jackson for governor.
We got a couple of hands up.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Reed.
Then
Marty is holding his head.
Can I speak?
Reed.
I have a simple question. All
Yeah.
the presentation. Dario, is this based on the AMI that the federal government created? Because the AMI only impacts, and you only need to use it if federal dollars are involved. So if there's city and state dollars, you don't need to use the AMI as defined by the federal government. You can use the local census tract. You can use the zip code.
Lee,
Yes.
you're right. You're right, except various city agencies, including DOB, have used AMI improperly as an applicable standard that they can quickly and easily use. And so to that extent, while not authorized, while not mandated, it still is, as a practical matter, the guidepost.
But maybe they aren't aware of it and hasn't been brought to their attention, DOB and HPD and DHCR.
I think you have a DOB commissioner who's very much aware of it. And
I know
very
Eman.
conscious.
I know him. But anyway, I think it needs to be specifically stated. So there's no
Okay.
ambiguity.
Okay. I'll bring that feedback over.
And tell Robert that Lee Chung is the one that.
I would leave it in there.
I will.
Because they can ignore it. On the other hand, they understand the sense of the body, that that's what they should be doing. I tell you that a former commissioner of HTC was aware of exactly that point, but couldn't move it over the needle over. Ed?
Hey, Dario. In one of your opening slide, you mentioned you had the infrastructure strain in Van Cortlandt Village, and I was kind of waiting for a definition. You mentioned something about a compact number of units. I was wondering if you could clarify that, and what exactly do you mean by infrastructure strain? What is the infrastructure strain?
So, for instance, there's a lot of across the city. Their developers do the math, what they make small units, because the current AMI formula allows them to make, let's say in most cases, a profit without sizing the units to the reality of the community. And if the community has a need for, let's say, 2 bedrooms, because the community needs that, but the math that allows them to get tax incentives or other items lets them make a lot of units that are not responsive to the actual underlying infrastructure. We feel that by not leveraging tax dollars in the AMI formula, that it lets them build without actually taking into account what the local needs are. Because you could build a 5-story building with 200 apartments, but the reality is that the community doesn't really need it, and it just creates an artificial, let's say, increase in population while not actually adjusting to that local needs. Because many of the individuals that come into these new units are not from the community, but they come from outside. Maybe we don't say displace the community residents, but they're not current residents that put themselves in a better situation. Because housing, one of the biggest concerns in the community that the center represents and beyond.
Thank you.
Any member of the committee have a question, Bob?
Yeah, Dario, has corresponding legislation been introduced into the assembly?
One of them, yes. The other one, not yet.
Can you
Who's
tell us
carrying
which
it in
is
the
which?
assembly?
Yeah, that's it.
So that's a work in progress. But we'll keep you updated.
Who introduced it?
Well, that's the question.
Jackson.
Has it been
No, the
introduced?
assembly.
Who's
I
carrying
have to
it?
double check.
It's not revealing it yet.
No, I don't.
Hasn't really been.
Yeah, I don't have that answer for you right now. I did not do the bill. I did not do the buck slip for that.
Thank you.
I apologize. I will update the board.
Marty. I can't.
Marty,
hear you.
unmute.
Marty.
I'm on the
There you
same
go.
page as you are, Dario, and I appreciate that this has been entered into the calendar for the state senate. But I'm a little bit confused. AMI is a flawed, as you already pointed out, AMI is a flawed system by which people are defining, quote, affordability, which is another ill-defined term. And the concept of using zip codes, which the city already has that data. It doesn't have to be created. I'm just wondering whether or not we create more confusion if we use the same vocabulary to define what we want to be changed. AMI doesn't work. It doesn't provide for affordability. And to allow for the legislation to allow AMI because it's easier or it's there, doesn't get away from the current situation. And I think that's where we need to go.
Well, Marty, if I may, Marty. People have gotten used to a species of language. Language that is inaccurate. Language, for example, homelessness. They're not homeless. They are individuals who don't have a home. But they include all kinds of people in that term. My point is, he's got to try and stay within the framework of what people understand and have been lectured on for 10, 20 years. That's my view as a political matter.
But also the issue has been that the geography of AMI has been too wide and the use of the zip code narrows that geography.
Exactly, it's redefining it without changing anything else.
That's right. So it's appropriately focused.
Abba.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I wanted to just make two quick comments, if I may. First, I wanted to really thank Dario. Please do send our deepest thanks to the state senator for introducing these bills. It's really the first, I think, a ray of light that we've seen. And I also want to thank the Land Use Committee for bringing these to the attention of the elected officials. It's deeply appreciated, and there's no way it would have happened without your sustained attention. So thank you. I did want to make a comment responding to Mr. Green earlier about the impact on the infrastructure. So I can be concrete about that because we're already seeing those impacts in Van Cortlandt Village, and they're already bad. And let me be very specific about this. So I've been made aware that under 3888 Sedgwick Avenue, that's a large building on the corner of Sedgwick, that water is now freely flowing beneath the foundation of that building. And apparently the owner of that building thinks that it is tied to the construction that Innovative has been doing at 3866 Sedgwick and potentially at 3862 Sedgwick. I did not hear this directly from him. I heard it through a second party, but in his telling, they had never had this phenomenon prior to the degree of construction that has been going on in the area. So I think that is a concerning situation, especially due to the proximity of the reservoir, as you're all aware. And certainly anything that could affect the structural integrity of the foundation of a building is serious. I do not know if any 311 complaints have been filed about this. I'm simply relaying it here. Another example that we've already seen is all the toilets at 69 Stevenson Place are backing up. That is a reminder to everybody, that is the single family house that was converted to a 10-unit micro unit facility. All the toilets are backing up, and you can smell the sewage now wafting, if the breeze is right, on Sedgwick and Stevenson Place. Again, not a mystery here. When they were laying that pipe, they ran. I watched them do it. They ran into a rock.
Hold on,
Yes.
just one more.
Yes.
Farah, would you please notify the Department of Health?
Health?
That
Okay.
health,
Uh-huh.
Department of Health, that there is an unsanitary condition at that address. The board would like it investigated immediately. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
Should we
thank
bring
you.
this up in the Cortland Village topic,
Yeah.
or this is AMI
Right.
discussion?
I understand, but
Background
then
much as a concern of Seagate, not anything about this bill specifically.
Yes.
Let me make a point. They caught me, they're right.
Yes.
Let's hold Van Cortlandt till I get to Van Cortlandt, please.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Thank you.
That applies to you, Gary. All right, so, but.
Yes, but I do
Farah,
want
I
to
do
say,
want that.
excuse me, I do want to say something to Dario before he goes away.
Okay, yeah.
Go ahead.
Can do that. Dario, I have been working very hard at dealing with Van Cortlandt Village, and I'm going to save those remarks for then. But I would like, I mean, Senator Jackson has been on my TV show. I would like to be able to follow up either with you or with Edwin at some point, even this week or next week, to set something up so I can meet with you folks and talk about why Van Cortlandt Village is ground zero for everything you're talking about. This is exactly what we need to talk about.
Yes.
So that's all I want to say. Thank you very much.
Yes. Well, I will have Edwin reach out to you.
Thank you.
Just for clarity, both bills have assembly sponsors. They're sponsored in the assembly by Assemblymember Cunningham, and Assembly Bill 2187 and Assembly Bill 7380. And I will send that information to the board.
Thank
Will
you.
you,
But I
Dario?
do want to talk to him.
All right. I guess we've gone through. Would you again please call to the attention of the senator the deep gratitude that the community board has to him, and to thank him for being the kind of responsive elected public official we haven't seen in a long time. Laura.
Specifically, is there any action that the committee wants to take in
Do you-
response to this?
Do you want
What-
an
what do they-
endorsement?
Yeah.
Dario,
Yes, I missed some whatever Laura said.
on the
I
motion
apologize.
to approve. On the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Abstentions? Unanimous?
Is this for a
Thank you.
letter of support, you're saying?
Gotta go back to the board.
Okay, so Dario,
Thank
what
you.
you were saying was, do you want a letter of support for
Yes,
this?
yes, we do. We appreciate your vote in favor.
You just got it.
We will have to draft a
Yeah.
letter of support.
Yeah.
We?
Yeah, yes,
Yes, we will. Okay, can we now move, because it is right there. Can I just take care of two quick things so we don't miss them? Has anybody got any comments or concerns respecting the February 5 minutes?
Didn't we do?
On the motion to
No, we
approve?
didn't.
On the motion to approve,
Second.
all those in favor, contrary minded, abstentions, done. Fort Independence Street, that it's been added to the National Register of Historic Places. They want an endorsement. I have a question. And I don't know who the actual sponsor is, but there's an issue here. When you have an endorsement or a holding that a building is a historic building, that can limit the repairs, maintenance, and the like. It is a two-edged sword.
Read it.
And I really think we need more before you just approve it. Everybody's for motherhood and apple pie, but in this case, you have a distinct downside. So, Farah, will you notify the respondents how they deal with this?
I'm sorry.
Sponsors? Whoever gave it to us and asked us to approve it.
Oh, yes, yes, the historic, if you look at it, they sent us something in December, which I sent you initially, are we talking about?
Sorry, yeah, I saw it.
And, so that Nitch is the one who submitted this.
Natcha?
Yes.
Oh, then they all want to keep,
Just so you know.
motion to disapprove.
No, it explains why, and Dario actually was very knowledgeable about it. And he said it's because they get funding and tax credits
Right.
if they apply for this.
Right, the
And
problem
to
is-
do that, they will still do the work, it's not
Let me
beholden to the local landmark rules.
The historic rules are the Metropolitan Transportation Agency, this I lived through, from putting up a higher guardrail on the bridge. Why? Because it was declared a historic bridge since it was put up by the 20th. And the state is not allowing any change in the historic or that bridge unless that designation is reversed. That's a perfect example of the kind of thing people can hide behind. It's a two-edged sword. Which bridge? I do not want to be a party to saying that the NYCHA can continue down its merry way using the historic designation to preserve a crap house.
Well, he also said that it's only for the private and public night shift facilities, the PACs that are all being utilized. They're the only ones who can do this.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But first you have to have a commitment of some sort, a writing that says it cannot or will not be used as an excuse for failure to effect repairs.
By the way, resend the information.
I will.
Because
These
that's right.
It to you,
And
yeah.
it outlines, I mean, most of it is talking about how they'll get tax credits, they'll get, you know, stuff on the rent, they'll
Right.
get qualified expenses they can write off or get tax credit equal to 20% of repair cost. So if anything, it would help you maintain things better by it being designated, because it opens up
And they
more avenues for
they
funding.
should pass a resolution that says, notwithstanding if we can and must and will make mandated repairs and alterations. But until they do, you can't trust NYCHA around the corner.
Quick question, this refers to Fort Independence Street, Health Avenue houses, it is Eaton, that's what I thought.
All right. So I think that's a lot of the small ones.
No, they typed it wrong.
All right, now let's go over.
Yeah, you did it right.
Correct on the agenda. Yeah,
Thank you.
back to the agenda. You want to do Chevy or you want to go to Van Cortlandt?
Let's do Chevy, maybe quicker.
All right, Chevier sent us what I had drafted a response to as saying it was a disingenuous response.
Yeah.
They wanted us to go do their work. Then if they were convinced that they had done something wrong in the first place, they would do something about it. I propose to send a letter to them saying that. Let me take you back now to a period of time about 3 years ago. We danced with Chevier on violations of SNAP. And during the course of that, I met with various people at Chevier. Because I had a view that this was a repeat of the use of nursing homes that occurred in the 1960s that were really a disaster. Chevier is a weird situation today. It was sold by
Won't say
funds to
funds.
call on.
Mhm, right.
And the owners now are divided essentially into two parts. One group of ownership, this is their definition, of what I was told by the fellow who was then the president. One part is real estate oriented. It knows that it owns property which has real estate value and potential, and it wants to develop that. The other part is focused upon and preoccupied with providing nursing home care according to whatever standards it had. I say according to whatever standards it has because it's my understanding it's a one-star facility, while Methodist and others are 3 and 4 and 5. All right.
That's correct. You can find it on Medicare.gov. So you can look up and the ratings are there.
My point is, I really think this is disingenuous. I do think you ought to take a good hard look, everybody. If you want to edit my letter, be my guest. But I think that was a disingenuous response. I think they already know it was, and that we ought to, if we see them doing anything, if Jody, who is watching them and has been for years, sees anything else, I'm going to write to the Commissioner of Health. I've already talked to some of those people, and a complaint will be examined by them. Okay? Yeah. All right? So if anyone has any corrections, let's say in the next 2 weeks, get
I'll
it to
just send
Farrah.
it to everyone, but
Okay.
this
All right.
was an email chain. Right.
Okay, now let's go to Alan.
Oh,
you want?
Need to make his.
Oh, Marty, you want to do your River Spring report?
A number of his Vanport report.
And his Van Cortlandt, you both.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
This is-
Alba can make the presentation.
I don't think
Okay, I have a very brief presentation to share. It's really not even a presentation at all. This is just regarding one specific topic, Denishon House. We are fortunate that an esteemed member of the preservation community, Professor Andrew Dolkert, who is a professor of historic preservation at the Columbia University Graduate School of Architecture, Planning, and Preservation, has gotten interested, deeply interested, in leading efforts to preserve Denishon House. He could not be here tonight, but he has shared a letter that he would like me to share with the committee now, if I may. And also, Mr. Stephen Tilley, an accomplished architect, is also involved in this effort and is on the call tonight. I hope he's still able to say a few words. But if I may share my screen, I would like to share Professor Dolkert's statement with the committee. Is that okay?
Good.
Okay. So let me share my screen quickly. Here we are. Okay, so this is the letter that Professor Dolkert wrote. He could not be here tonight. He is in London, England, as a matter of fact. But I can read this aloud, but I think the essential point, and I will email this to the community board, the essential point that Professor Dolkert is asking is he's asking for the support for an effort to have the Landmarks Commission hold a public hearing on the designation of Denishon House as a cultural landmark. And in this letter, he elucidates some of the key reasons why he thinks that Denishon House it merits being recognized and designated as an official city landmark.
The address, please. I can't read it.
Yeah, the address is 67 Stevenson Place.
Thank you.
Could you get a copy of that letter to the committee? What
I
I
will
would propose to do is to poll the committee, Tara, next week and get their comments on this, all right? If the committee feels that that's something that's worthy, we'll put it on the agenda for an approval or disapproval at the next meeting.
Can I ask a question of Abba?
Yes.
Abba, didn't this issue go before landmarks preservation once before?
It did, and I hope, I don't know if Mr. Tilley, oh, he is on the call. Steve, I think you'd be much better qualified than I to speak to this, as you are a professional and highly accomplished architect. Can I ask you to say a few words on this point?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe you could introduce yourself to the committee briefly.
I'm Steve Tilley, and I'm an architect that does a lot of preservation work. I've restored buildings in Manhattan, and I also happen to know something about the dance world. So both of these two subjects are colliding at this site. This year, for example, is the 100th anniversary of the Martha Graham Dance Company, which is having a big celebration in this year. And Martha Graham studied with the two principals who had the studio on Stevenson Place. And so Andrew Dolkart has done a piece on it and a letter that establishes the importance of these people. If there was a Nobel Prize for dance, these folks would have gotten one because they were the seminal figures in the development of modern dance, which has obviously grown over the years. And there is a surviving studio. I have a few photographs that could be forwarded to the committee for its consideration as part of this. The application that was made to the Landmarks Commission was somewhat deficient and needs improvement because it didn't have good illustrations of the existing conditions at Stevenson Place. And it also didn't discuss the work that had been done that could be undone very easily and restore the great part of the building to its original appearance. So that we felt that the defect in that original presentation and consideration by the Landmarks Commission should be perfected, and with additional information and also support from the dance world, because this is really important in that community, and that community was not especially represented at the hearing. So that's why this is being brought to you for your consideration and your support.
So clearly it was, the application was somewhat deficient. It was turned down. I would think people who know about modern dance know who Ted Schoen and Ruth St. Dennis were, but there are plenty of modern dance troupes that I would think could be counted on to speak favorably about the importance of the building. If the building was modified in some way, that issue needs to be directly addressed if it's going to get past the landmarks preservation.
Right.
So could you just, perhaps send something to the board office to say what the critical issues were so that we know exactly what it is we're being asked to address?
And if it's been modified in a material respect, they'll turn it down.
Yeah, I can absolutely get you that information. So there is now more support from the dance world as well, because there's been some outreach since that hearing.
What is it about the building other than that someone involved in dance was in it?
Well, it was
designed in a particular way. Does it have features that are compatible with dance as contrasted with hockey?
It was a
That's
studio.
what you're gonna get from Armand.
It was a studio where this seminal dance troupe developed its dances. Developed its
That's not,
choreography.
but if you can show
architectural features.
But if we can show that there's a feature in that building, a structural, physical feature that lends itself to dance and was incorporated in it, that's the key.
From 72.
Yes,
Chuck, I think with respect, it has less to do with architecture than with the historic and cultural value. This was essentially the birthplace of modern dance in that building. That's gonna go to
Just on that ground, not on the auction.
Well, I don't, again, I don't know how the building has been modified since then and whether that issue can be addressed.
I
But the
can
primary
answer some
issue
of
here
that
is
if you give
historic
me a
and cultural
chance.
value.
I may have missed this. Who
Couldn't
owns
this be
the building
accomplished
now?
with a plaque?
I don't, well, the question is what's happening to the building.
Oh, okay.
I mean, put a plaque on a building that no longer is, that turns out to be full of micro units. Or I'm sure that Gary or Abba will address the
Yeah,
real.
I can be very.
I'm happy to do it. I know a lot about that building and so whenever you give me a chance, I'd be happy to speak on it.
Gary, can I say one? Let me make one.
Yeah,
Let me make one comment to be concrete to Mr. Bender's point. About 2 weeks ago, three surveyors were seen walking over the property, taking measurements and doing recordings.
Not good.
They were seen on a
Not
second
good.
as well. So I think it's clear.
Who owns?
Excuse me?
all I'm asking you to do is to put on paper what the status of the building now is in terms of what changes have occurred since it was used for that purpose. And what remains of value. We went down this road with the, what is it, Cassett, the one over at, Villa Rosa.
Right.
See, that's the historical,
Well, I think if you.
yes, Laura. Laura,
Who owns the building now?
The Van Cortlandt Jewish.
I may have missed that.
It is the Jewish Center.
Yeah, the Jewish
Van
Center.
Cortlandt.
Okay. The Van Cortlandt Jewish Center owns the building now.
Can I
But
have some
wasn't
input?
wasn't it,
Because I know something
wasn't the
about
building,
this.
wasn't the building sold along with the Jewish Center?
Can I have some input on this? Because I actually know a lot about this.
so let's hear it.
Well, thank you. I'm on the Bronx Committee of the Historic Districts Council, and we have looked at this building, and they have great interest in this building. I also, and my family have been, in the past, members of the Van Cortlandt Jewish Center, and I used to park my car in the garage of that building. So I know a lot about that building, and when I was a youngster, the Van Cortlandt Jewish Center used to use the building as kind of an after school or early evening club, and we'd go there and play ping pong, billiards and have meetings and whatever else. In addition, it was mentioned about the dance community. I've already spoken to the leaders of the Bronx LGBT dance community, which is related to Ted Shawn and all the things that he went through, et cetera, et cetera. And they're very willing to take an interest. So we can create a very large community, including the Historic Districts Council, the dance community. I mean, I've had, and certainly the local people here who are talking about it, Steve Tilley and Abba, and I'm sure you broadened it. What has happened in that building was used as the caretaker's house. And according to the Historic Districts Council, I didn't really see the application and don't know much about it, but according to the Historic Districts Council, because the interior had been renovated to be somebody's house as opposed to what it was, they rejected it. But the Historic Districts Council, and I don't represent them here, although I'm telling you I'm on the committee and we had discussions about it, and the Historic Districts Council believes that they can reapply with some new information, and some of the points that I heard tonight could be added. And if we could bring everybody around a phone call or a Zoom call or around a table, maybe we can
Gary,
get some more
let
about
me
that.
short, Gary, if you will put or have them put together what it is that they can show that was not shown previously.
Okay,
In
I will
terms
work on that,
of-
and I can certainly talk to the
Yeah,
Historic Districts.
let's see it, let's say 3 weeks from now, so that we have a week to review it before the next board meeting.
Okay, we'll do the best we can. I mean, I'll raise my hand again, but I have other things to present about Van Cortlandt Village.
How can we go to Van Cortlandt Village proper? We are going to establish within this committee
I'll raise my
a
hand.
working group on Van Cortlandt Village. It is my thesis, whether it is substantiated or not, we will see. That there are all of the indicia here of being able to turn some or all of a community into a slum. I will tell you again what you've heard before. The late Frank Hogan, who was the truly last great district attorney we had other than Bob Morgenthau, maybe, said the one way of guaranteeing a slum is to start having SROs in the middle of them. We've got it. Your map, ABBA, is in the hands of the Commissioner of Buildings and others. And they are taking a look at it now. If we can form a committee, what we would do is be able to put together a presentation, which I can assure you is going to get a lot of attention, that says these are the adverse signs in that community, and it is time the city took a look at it. So let me take one of the most controversial, the micro units. It is the view of many of the elected and appointed officials in New York County that micro units are great things. They provide inexpensive housing for people who don't need a large apartment. Oh, my understanding is they're going for $3,000 a month here. So there are two things we have to show. One, that the micro units here are not a great thing. The ones on Saxon, according to Ed, have already decayed much of that neighborhood. We need to do as a second thing to show the areas where there has already been a sign of decay. So that what we would do is, if we can assemble a committee of people who really want to work, not just play at it, we will meet separately as a subcommittee of the committee and try and hand out the assignments so that we can get a report done before the end of this season.
I gave you a list.
I have the list in front of me. So we have the following volunteers plus a couple of handcuff volunteers. Dan Road being one of the handcuff volunteers. Myrtla, Wolpoff, Bender, Axel Bank, Jody Kalan, Abba, Jessica Sosa, she would be a handcuff volunteer. And Dan, if there are others who want to join us and spend the time at it, we should do it. Let me be very clear. This administration is in the formative stages of where it's going. I'm not sure I know where it's going. I'm not sure it knows where it's going. But if it is persuaded that this is not in the public interest, and these are much more distant, remote from the real estate board and the real estate industry than either of the two prior mayors, it will do something about this. So this is something that will be of value in terms of getting a result. Is there anybody else, if they do have somebody else who wants to participate in that, please get in touch with Farah. She'll put the list together.
Yeah.
We will call a meeting of this subcommittee by Zoom or whatever else, so that people don't have to schlep all the way over here. Schlep, that's a Chinese word for bread. If we will put a meeting together and get this thing going, because we've done this before, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, and so we need your help.
If there's anyone on the Zoom right now that Chuck did not mention, just raise your hand and I can add you to the list. Ed Green, all right. Megan, you're on the list. Carl Ford will add you to the list. And Ed Green will add you to the list.
You can put my name too.
And you're on the list, Steve, already. You said.
No.
Okay, great.
But thank you for your service. That's why we have these meetings, to find out what you volunteered for.
All right. Is there anything else?
Yeah, Marty's.
Marty, you want to do the River Spring report? It's on the front page, the issue is on the front page of the first issue.
Oh, I didn't see that yet. Okay, just, when, let's go back a little further. When the Hebrew Home decided that it wanted to create a, continuous care community. And I know a little bit more about it now than I did in the beginning. The premise being that if you wanted to take an apartment in a senior facility with other seniors who are well elderly, then you could buy an apartment, live in that apartment, and as you age in a continuous care community, you would go from nursing, skilled nursing, whatever's required, but that the Hebrew Home would be your home from that first point on. Continuous care. I now know personally from my son's in-laws, they sold their house and moved into a elderly facility in Florida, which thinks it's similar to the Hebrew Home. But it was known that my son's mother-in-law had difficulty in mobility. So long as she maintained that mobility level, she lived there. If her mobility became less and did not require skilled nursing, they would have to move out. Sold their house, moved here, would have to move out. But when they reached the point of requiring skilled nursing, they can move back in. And this is what the Hebrew Home is trying to avoid. And it would be the first one in New York City. When the Hebrew Home first presented its plan, it had suggested 3 giant skyscrapers that would block the vision of the homeowners immediately on Ladd Place and even some in Skyview. And there was an uproar from the community in general. Through negotiations with the Hebrew Home, a memorandum of understanding was established so that several community people would work with the Hebrew Home in making sure that the suggestions that they had were more palatable to the neighbors. So from 3 towers, as I understand it now, there is to be 3 towers, but instead of being all the same skyscrapers, there'd be a bigger, a middle, and a smaller building. And the Hebrew Home has agreed to, and we've been holding meetings of this community group with the Hebrew Home. The last one was last week, and they gave us the latest information that they now have their loan. They're about to prepare to do demolition, and they're prepared to begin construction. So that's where we are now. I'm on the committee, Chuck's on the committee. We represent the community board on this community committee. And there's a meeting in a couple of weeks more when presumably they'll be providing more information as it becomes available. So those who are not aware, just know that there will be demolition of the facilities that are on the ground just south of the current Hebrew Home and which the Hebrew Home, the property is owned by the Hebrew Home or River Spring. So I think if anybody has any questions, I'd love to read the article. Well, but any questions, I'll try and answer them.
Marty, I thought it was just one large building,
111-story structure as a.
right? Not
It's just
three.
the first floor.
That
Well,
was
the
what I
original
believe was
intent was-
reported in the press, and there was it on NIMBY or someplace else that had a. NIMBY had a rather, I'm sorry, I downloaded it, I meant to circulate it.
When they
I didn't.
came to us though, it was the three buildings.
That's
It's
right, but
later-
now, what they're talking about now is this 111-story building.
Or are they looking at the original?
I am going to research that a little better. What my understanding is, they intended 3 buildings, all of the same height, and have agreed to having 3 buildings of varying heights, so they all wouldn't be one giant wall of skyscraper. And the focus on the NIMBY article, which I read, and the focus on the conversations I have heard, maybe I haven't heard clearly enough, but I still have the impression they're going for 3 buildings. But I will research that.
Maybe you should give a call or remind me, and I'll do it tomorrow. Or Carol, remind, hopefully, this looks like the answer.
I can answer that.
Go ahead.
Their original application included 3 buildings, and they had a directive that they had to pre-sell a certain number of units before they were allowed to put shovel in the ground. So what they did is they were going to build in 2 phases, but they made that one proposal. I've tracked this since the beginning with the state. So my understanding is that they separated out to phase 1, and they took phase 2 out of their proposal to the state so they could get permission to build the first and largest building. Their plan was to use the money to self-finance the phase 2. You can't hear me? Me now?
Now.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So basically, yes, they proposed 3 buildings, but it was one proposal. They separated 2 of the buildings out, so they got approved to build phase 1, which is the largest building. My understanding is that once they built phase 1, they were going to use the proceeds to reapply for phase 2 buildings, which was the 2 smaller buildings. So that's where it last stood when they were approved.
Makes sense. Or
Yeah, and I keep pestering the state, the CCRC council, because their website hasn't been updated in 3 years. But
Okay.
but that's the last I knew. All right.
is there anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second. Okay, we're set. I will thank the handcuff volunteers. And